Next, it's marketing disruption and its impact on business. Digital disruption is a transformation that is caused by emerging digital technologies and business models. This is why the term disruption is used, as the emergence of these new digital products, services, business disrupts the current market and causes the need for re-evaluation. In this session, the panel is defining market disruption and how organizations are implementing these disruptive tech strategies and the impact this brings to enterprises. The session is going to be chaired by Vivian Gomes, Chief Marketing Officer at Movate. Our panelist for the session, Shyam Ananthnarayan, Chief Marketing Officer, ITC Infotech. I'm not sure if he's here, but if you're here, sir, please join us. Then we have Pavan Singh, General Manager Marketing at Amul, India. And Roshni Das, General Manager and Senior Marketing Director, APJ Regional Marketing at Intel Corporation. Let's hear that for the panel, please. Handing it over to our moderator.
Hi everybody. Guys, I know this is the last session of the day, but let's not make it so obvious. Hi everybody. Hi. That's better, thank you. So by the way, it's a crowd warning. There are 3 marketers on the loose here, so you don't know what's going to come next. So before we get into today's topic, let me just, let's have a quick show of hands. How many people here are from marketing? Not bad, maybe about 10%. Okay. And how many of you interact regularly with your marketing functions? Little more. So there is some awareness. Not bad. So that gives us some idea how we have to level set the discussion. So folks, so the topic for today is marketing disruption and its impact on business. So I was just thinking, now given the demographics that we have out here, how do we start this session in a way that's relatable to at least some of you? I mean, since your interaction is relatively limited with marketing, how do we start in a way? So let me ask you a question. How many of you want to hear a funny joke about a marketer? Okay, 50% of you want to hear a funny joke. Okay, you'll have to download my free ebook and find out for yourself. Sounds rings a bell somewhere. So folks, marketing is a lot more than that. It's a function that's not necessarily talked about a lot, but in the current environment where there's so much happening, so much of flux, every function has had to adjust, and marketing is no different. So today we are going to talk about what's new at marketing, or how marketing has been disrupted in the last few years. Then first we'll define that. Then we are going to look at how we implement this disruptive marketing in our organizations, right? And then the third $1 million question is, what's its impact on business, or what can we expect as its impact on business? So we have a great set of panelists here. Unfortunately, Anant couldn't join because he had a medical exigency at the last minute. But we have Roshni, who is the voice from the B2B2C world. And we have Pavan, who is B2C. So we have and I'm B2B. So we have a good mix here. So let me start with both of you. Let me start with you, Roshni, first. Help us unravel and define marketing in your world, and what's been new, what's been disrupting it in your world?
Okay, it's on. Thank you for staying back, and let's hope we make it worth your while, as Vivian said. So, question on marketing disruption, right? I think disruption happens anytime when there's a behavior change, there's a technology change, there's an economic change, right? And if you look at just what we've been through in the last 2-3 years, you know, everything's happened, right? Consumer behavior changed, technology came to the fore, and so many livelihoods from an economic perspective either got impacted or definitely got changed. So when such a massive change happens, marketeers and businesses also have to rethink, what their playbook is. The regular playbooks don't operate anymore, right? Suddenly, instead of marketing to a person face to face, you had to think of how are you going to look at contactless marketing, right? Because of just how the pandemic affected all of us. So I would say that's one of the precursor. The other piece I talked about is technological change, right? Many of us over here have seen so much change in the last few decades. From an Intel perspective, I would say there used to be the PC era, right? Then when the PC era happened, the wireless economy grew. Then the mobile era started, right? Explosion of mobile phones. What happens when explosion of mobile phones happen? So much data, so much connectivity. And what are we doing today? We're in the distributed intelligence era, right? Because the edge can talk to devices. So every time you've had a different era, you've had to restructure how you go to market, right? Which means that if I step back and think of it, the traditional 4P that we used to have from a marketing perspective, right? You've heard of 4P? Product, place, promotion. Changed in our era to think about three very important things. People. Suddenly, the way people had to market had to be different, right? You had to train your people differently. You had to think process, like what's the experience? And very importantly, you had to think purpose. What does the company stand for now? What is the problem they're trying to solve? So I feel like those are all the changes that as marketing we had to rethink about. And what's important is we had to make everything we did more human, right? More valuable, but less intrusive. So if you think of it, these are the things that marketing went through, and we can talk about examples as we go along.
Sure. So Pavan, you come from a brand that's often referred to as the taste of India. So I'm assuming the parameters of marketing would be very different in your world. Why don't you help us understand?
Well, hi everyone. So Vivian started off by introducing me as someone from the B2C space, right? Actually, I come from an industry that is more accurately described as CTC industry. And you know what CTC stands for? Cow, Technology, Consumer. Because at Amul, the entire value chain from cow to consumer is technology enabled. So I'm very happy to be here today in this world of technology experts. Vivian, in fact, let me tell you, Amul has often been called an IT company in dairy business because the kind of sophisticated supply chain that we run on a very highly perishable product like milk, connecting millions of farmers to millions and millions of consumers on a daily cycle can only happen because we have a very sound, solid information technology backbone for it to run effectively. Coming back to your question, I saw the show of hands and there were quite a few marketing domain experts here, and then I guess there are many who are not from the marketing domain. And also a lot of people watching online who are technology experts, but not necessarily marketing experts. So let me take just a minute, we have time I guess, to establish a very simple understanding of how the marketing process works. And then we can also, I guess, touch base on how technology acts as an enabler or maybe a benign disruptive force at various stages of the marketing process. Will that work, Vivian? Okay, all right. So, folks, this is a 1-minute masterclass in marketing, okay? So pay attention. I know it's the last session, but this will be worth your while. It is intuitively very simple to understand and get. So marketing process actually starts with us, that's you and me, trying to understand what part of society around us are we best equipped to serve with the unique resources and skills that we have. Having identified our target group clearly, we then go on to try and understand what would be the pain areas in their lives that we can possibly find a solution to using those unique resources that we possess. And having understood those pain areas, we move on to creating a solution in ways that have not been done before. And we work on also generating awareness. So we have to communicate to the target group that the solution exists and it is better than alternatives. And having done that, we then try to make the solution both physically accessible to the target group and economically accessible to the target group. We work on making the solution continuous improvement in the process. We observe the impact. We build on that solution. We create variation. And in doing all this, we also create that special place in the hearts and minds of our customers. So what you just heard is called the classical segmentation, targeting, positioning approach to marketing. Now, here's where technology comes in as an enabler in each and every part of this process. Okay, so what does technology do? First of all, it helps us to understand our customers and their pain areas with the kind of clarity, accuracy, detailing that was not possible before. It also helps us to communicate, engage, even interact with our target group with the speed, reach, and scale that was not possible earlier. So we are touching on, how technology has changed things for us. It helps us to create those solutions that I was talking about and also communicate those solutions to the target group with absolute high precision. So goes directly to the people who need it with minimum wastage, minimum spillover. And most important of all, it helps us to remain continuously in touch with the people who matter most to our business, our customers, enabling real-time interventions. So this is how technology acts as an enabler to marketing.
That deserves an applause. So let's, now that we've defined marketing and disruption in marketing, let's make it a little more real because marketers have to make operational decisions every day. How do we go about implementing this disruptive marketing in our organizations, right? So at last count, I saw that there are something like 10,000 technology platforms and tools available to marketers and sales folks. 10,000, and that number is growing. How do you go about assessing what you can leverage? That's one thing. Secondly, how do you go about convincing your stakeholders, getting buy-ins from them, arranging budgets for them, and measuring success, setting goals, and so on? If you can just make it a little real for us. Why don't you start?
I think one part of it is, Pavan talked about really important is he said a couple of things, right? Finally, it's the center of any marketing is what's the problem you're trying to solve, right? And once you know what's the problem you're trying to solve, who is the audience you're trying to solve for, right? So customer, he talked about it, and the problem you're trying to solve. So I think as long as you keep in mind an audience-first approach, then that itself defines, what kind of technology stack you want to go after, right? That's one. Second is, like he said, pace has changed, business accountability has changed, purpose has changed, right? So these are the other three vectors that you have to keep in mind. And last, for us, as Intel, we've got a B2C segment. Who hasn't, we've got Intel Inside in the majority of PCs today, right? So eventually it is about how can I enable a great experience while you use your PC, but to improve your life, right? Your improvement of life maybe, hey, you want to be part of a social community, right? You want to be in touch with your community. So if I know that you are interested in a certain hobby, let's say gaming, right? How do I ensure that I talk about that passion point and use technology to reach you, through social communities, through key opinion leaders, through streamers, right? So that's how, in one way technology can help you. And then we use a lot of technical tools to understand you. Social listening is no longer about listening on just social platforms. It's about web listening, right? Are you part of a community? How many of you game here? Or how many of you have children that game here? Yeah, okay, some hands. You've heard of the community Discord? Yeah? Discord became, yeah, so it's not just about being on social platforms, but it's using technology to make you feel part of a community, right? So that's one of the pieces. From a B2B perspective, like he said, precision, reaching the audience with minimum wastage, but providing what they're looking for. B2B is a little more complex because you're probably looking for minimizing security risk. But what are you solving for? You're solving for peace of mind, right? Digital transformation, you're looking for modernizing your servers, for instance. How can I help talk to the CTO to look at their digitization mandate? What are we looking for? We're looking for reliability. We're looking for trust, right? And that's how you're going to go to market. Or for instance, you talked about technology and AI. Analytics is big. I've seen so many amazing applications outside that are looking at AI. That's one of the biggest pieces of technology. But AI to do what? So every digital algorithm today is AI-based. Your popular Netflix is AI-based, right? If you've come to my website and you're looking for a solution, it's AI-based. Am I looking to serve content to you at the right time is very important. That's the role of analytics, right? And of course, we use a ton of technology tools for that. Adobe Analytics, Adobe Experience Cloud. So it really depends on who's the audience, what's the benefit, how do you want the person to feel, and then technology plays a role.
So just another follow-up on that, I'll come to you, Pavan. So just in terms of effectiveness of these tools, analytics, AI tools that you spoke about, how effective actually is it on the ground? Because I guess you spoke of a lot of things, but not all is black and white. We are still in the journey somewhere. We are exploring new things. What's your experience? I mean, how effective are these tools?
Look, the effectiveness is really dependent on the integrity of the data. Think of yourself like when you're submitting information about yourself, how accurately are you submitting the data? How comfortable are you comfortable about submitting that data, right? So integrity of data, very important. Privacy of the use of data, also important, right? There has to be a value exchange, and that value exchange is trust, right? If I give you my data, will you give me something of value? That's one. And like you said, it's growing. Eventually, it's not about being data-driven. Data-driven will give you patterns. You have to be data-inspired because there's always a human element, right? And to your question, how far has it come? We're still growing. You know, the digital economy has exploded literally in the last 8 to 10 years. And so as and when more data will evolve, it'll become clearer. As and when you have more people using it, it'll become more important. So internally, we use this code, like he said, CTC, we use PTP, okay? PTP is about people, technology, and then process. If you have the right people, then look for the right technology stack, and then you'll create the right processes, and then you'll measure right? So that's how you have to look at your technology stack, and it's a learning journey. You keep experimenting, and you'll learn, and you'll fail.
So Pavan, I think Roshni mentioned people. Let's sort of deep dive a little into people now here. There are two parts to it. One is your own teams. What are the new skill sets emerging? What are the new roles emerging in marketing? And also, I would imagine your brand would be more of an emotive brand, less of a tech brand, right? So, but as I understand, like you said, there's a lot of tech also there, right? So how does this kind of play out in your world then, especially from a people perspective?
So, Vivian, can I answer that in terms of some real life examples of what we do? Okay, great. So, and also let me make it relatable to everyone here, okay? Because Amul is a brand that I guess everyone can connect with. Many of you would be having your Amul lassi and Amul buttermilk and Amul chocolates and so many of our products, Amul butter. So tell me, you're sitting here or you are traveling anywhere in the country and you wish to know nearest to you, where can you find the nearest shop where you can find your favorite Amul lassi, okay? You just need to do something. Download an app called Locate Amul from Google Play Store. Put it on your smartphone, and it will give you, depending on your location, a map which within a 3-kilometer radius, you will get to know every shop which has an Amul product. You can click on the shop, and it will tell you exactly what product it has right now. Also, you can just use the filters and say Amul Lassi, and it will take you straight to the nearest shop having that product. Now, how are we able to do this? Because, Vivian, we are able to track on a daily basis what millions of retail stores are buying from us every single day. We know their purchase patterns, we know what they stock, we know what is in their assortment, how frequently their stocks are replenished, what is missing in the assortment, and how to then enhance the business from that store. So you were mentioning how the roles are going to change, or the roles are already evolving with technology. Today, when thousands of frontline Amul salespeople, sales functionaries, visit the retail stores on their daily beat coverage, okay, we are able to support them and enable their work with real-time interventions. So today, not only are we able to track their daily market movements, but as they enter a shop to book an order on their daily sales beat, they are prompted real-time as to what promotions are running on that store, on which product, which SKU, what are the targets, what are the achievements till date, what is the asking rate. Now, no one needs to remember anything. Everything is prompted real time. So that really helps as a great enabler to the sales functionary in discharging their responsibilities and their function. Having said that, from the consumer's point of view, okay, so we have something which is, say, if you're a customer of one of our very highly specialized products, say an Amul camel milk or lactose-free milk or Amul organic range. We have, yes, we do have organic range. We have Amul organic dal, Amul organic rice, Amul organic atta. So if you are a customer for any of these highly specialized products and which may not be there in your neighborhood grocery store, all you need to do is go to a D2C platform, place an order, it will be delivered directly to your home. Or even a shopkeeper doesn't have to wait today for an Amul salesman to visit to be able to place an order. They can just download an app called Amul Cart. They can place an order directly from sitting in their store, and the products will be delivered to them the very next day by the assigned distributor. So you can get a sense of how roles are changing, how the entire business process is changing with the intervention of technology. I can just go on because there's so many examples of what is happening around us.
So I think mind-blowing to see the kind of ecosystem that is set up. I think what is probably then needed is education, enabling people so that they do all these things and they know that these facilities are available. I mean, just to add to that, in our world, there's been so much disruption in the last couple of years. Many companies are relooking at the way they go to market in the IT services landscape. I spoke to some of my peers. We ourselves as an organization were called CSS Corp earlier. Recently, we've rebranded to Movate because for us, we felt that we have changed so much. We have transformed as an organization so much, but the brand perception hasn't necessarily kept pace with the change. So there is disruption, which is compelling organizations to relook at their go-to-market as well in this process. Now, I would just like to now try to summarize, because the second half of the topic, impact to business, right? So we all spoke about the technology, the process, fantastic apps, and tools available. How do we measure the success of these new initiatives, and how do we impact business, or what impact do we to business do we expect out of these new changes in marketing? Roshni?
I think measurement now is not about how much you measure, but how rightly you're measuring, right? So I think it's important to look at what are the measures of success for your organization for that specific go-to-market program. I mean, there are the regular measures. You can measure mix. Has your mix changed? Has your premium gone up, for instance? But the other ways to measure is also looking at advocacy scores, right? For instance, what's become very, very important is in the short term, yes, you'll see sales lifts, you'll see premium mixes changing. But what's very critical is your advocacy, your consumer advocacy and your customer advocacy. Do they identify with your brand? Is your brand of choice every time they think of it? And remember, things have changed. No, you're not competing with your direct competition anymore. You're competing with travel. You're competing with, saying saving, for instance, right? You're competing with content. So there is the way your competition landscape has changed. There's so much noise. So are you still the brand of choice? Are you still the brand that consumers identify with? So those are some of the measures. Now, how do you measure it? Like, how do I know I'm doing this right? Right? Of course, you can do point-in-time measurements. You can do brand recognition. We all look at those scores. You can look at social listening. You can look at web traffic. But I think what's important is to triangulate all three and look at, finally, the causation. Have these 2 or 3 metrics gone up? And the big part of listening is, to me, actionable insights. Yes, you've listened, but are you doing something about it at the end of it, right? So I'll give you the matrix we're thinking of. Today, if you look at measurement, what are you thinking of measurement? You're looking at, many companies are looking at hindsight. You're looking at a campaign 3 months later or a program later and you're saying, what happened, right? That's hindsight. It's done. It's gone. Then, which is, but what we're trying to move to is foresight, right? And between hindsight and foresight is where we are most organization. They're at the insight level, where they're thinking of diagnostic, why is it happening? Or they're thinking of predictive analytics, right? So why is it happening is where we're all. But if you really want to measure, you should be in a place which is how to make it happen, which is where prescriptive analytics will go. How do you control the narrative? That is where, fantastic technologies and how your consumers feel about you will make an impact. So I think that's the journey of measurement that most organizations are trying to reach.
So I'll just let you have the last word, Pavan, because we're running out of time. What's your take on impact to business?
So I would say technology actually makes measurements possible. So it helps us put numbers to observable phenomena. And in fact, I would say it actually enables quantification in ways that was not possible earlier. Today, say we are able to measure impressions, views, stickiness, engagement, and I'm not just referring to, say, digital marketing. I'll give you an example. Even say traditional media. For example, we have something as simple as an ad in a newspaper, right? So today, brands have even used technology to measure the efficacy of that. I'll give you a very simple example. You see those ads in newspapers on front pages and other pages, right? So today, brands have started putting a simple QR code in the ad. Now, if the reader likes the advertisement, they have a desire to buy the product, they can simply scan that QR code and it'll take them straight to that e-commerce website, or the e-commerce platform, which is stocking that product, or to the brand's own D2C site. In our case, it will also take them straight to the Locate Amul app, where they can check for themselves which are the nearest shops stocking that specific product. So just a simple example of how efficacy of even a simple newspaper ad in a traditional media can be enabled with the use of technology.
No, absolutely, Pavan. So I think if we were to do time travel and just get somebody who was in marketing 20 years back and just get him to hear this discussion, I bet they might think this is some Latin or Chinese being happening here, right? There's no doubt there is such influx of technology and which has disrupted marketing. It has opened up the arena, to do so much more. And one thing that I like to summarize with before we open it to questions is that clearly there's technology, there's people, but we are in a journey right now, much like on the IT side. We are evolving. There's a journey. There's trial and error. There are so many tools there. We try some, we fail. So the approach there is fail fast, move on, right? So we are in a journey here. There's a lot more in that lies in store, and looking forward to exciting times ahead, right? Thank you. Thanks, Roshni and Pavan. I'd like to open it up to the audience if there are any questions. Yes, gentlemen here.
Thank you for the excellent panel discussion. My question is that as we are moving more and more for digital marketing, the problem is physical and digital goods are also now coming in, and it is becoming more and more crowded because you are not just competing with other physical goods like Amul or any brand, right? But so many digital goods and the amount, the content can be produced digitally much faster, right? Digital goods are getting, and also they are getting user created. So how are you going to deal with this problem that physical goods advertising is going to become so much more expensive in the digital world because it's much easier to pump in stuff digitally? Natively digital content will wouldn't it overwhelm the physical kind of advertising in the digital world?
Pavan, you want
So, translated into our context, this is a classical, channel conflict situation that often the food and the FMCG world faces. So, of course, in our case, everything, the end product has to be physical because we're dealing with food and FMCG products. But then, of course, physical versus digital has always been a topic for debate because of the channel through which a customer is more likely to purchase. We have seen the importance of online purchases, let's not call it digital sales or digital purchases, online purchases becoming more and more important in recent years. The pandemic, the COVID pandemic, tragic as it was, it really shifted the entire game and the paradigm in favor of online purchases, home deliveries, and the entire e-commerce channel. So yes, it's become more and more important as far as the Indian food and FMCG marketeers are concerned, and it will continue to remain a very important channel.
Thank you.
To add, there's also, omni-channel experiences are here to stay. We are going to have the physical world working with the digital world. For instance, if you look at pandemic, right? Education was always physical, then we did online. Now we're learning to balance both. In the sense you still do go to school, but you also have learned to take the best of the online world. So omni-channel experiences will stay. And what we've also begun to do is use experiential marketing to bring the product alive. The other important piece is going to be the brands don't have to do everything themselves. There is something called co-creation, right? And if you look at social commerce, that's what has enabled. If you love a brand, today you will talk about it. That's what key opinion leaders, folks on social are doing, right? Influencers, as they're called. They will tell your brand story for you. And so that's the era that's also come. Co-creation with our brand ambassadors to tell the story. So that balance is actually a beautiful balance. And the last bit is, if the digital world didn't exist, think of the access. See, because of the pandemic, what happened is somebody in a smaller town, because of their phone, because of the delivery mechanisms, today experience your product. So we're able to reach far-reaching towns now with online. For instance, Intel PCs, the number of our sales went up hugely from smaller towns because of the ability for online channels to reach. And in the mainline, we go experience the product and we are able to get it serviced at home, right? Sent at home. So there is that balance that's going to keep happening as we go along, if that's, a question that you also had.
Yeah, question in the back.
The mic.
Okay, while you're sorting out, is there a question here? Yeah, why don't you go ahead?
Okay, can I ask?
Okay, he said.
Okay, this is a use case question to Pavan. Okay, I'm a fan of Amul chocolates, especially the dark chocolate, 75%, and the bitter one at 90%. I find it very difficult getting it anywhere, at least even in the special main areas of Bangalore as well. 10 stores I go, I may get or may not get, but in every store I get Cadbury's, but I don't get this, Amul. Now, you gave me an answer, the Amul app. But the problem is, why didn't you reach to me about the Amul app? And I have been waiting for this. And if I wouldn't have been here, I wouldn't have known about it. So my question to you is, how important is the promotion of the tech platform for people who wish to exclusively use those kind of solutions where your presence itself is not there on par? Because my best example is, I've tried out in, especially in places like Malleshwaram in Bangalore, I've tried out in 10, 12 stores near to my office. Never I get that product. Now, wouldn't it be good on your part to also promote the technology platform along with the chocolate? Thank you.
Right. Oh, it's a very good point actually. So yes, the app is a new introduction. So if you just check the downloads on Play Store, it's already got thousands of downloads and it's increasing every day. So yes, we will be promoting it in a big way. Also the D2C platform, because even today we have put very highly specialized products on that platform. It's called shop.amul.in. You can check it out on your browser, on the smartphone. They are products which are not very easily available in the neighborhood grocery store. So those are the products that we put on the D2C platform. So if you're able to place an order, we would be able to connect to you directly through the app and be able to deliver right to your doorstep.
Okay, I agree on that. But the question is, finding a store is more important.
Yeah, it is important. It's
because,
very, very important.
See, chocolate is a craving.
Correct.
I don't get it at that point of time. I'm going to forget about it.
Right.
And the store opposite to my office sells Cadbury dark chocolate. And many times I go there, I ask them, and I come back to office.
Correct.
You understand? So it's a use case problem for you to solve.
Correct. And now, thankfully, that problem won't be there because you now have the app with you. And you can also order on a lot of e-commerce platforms which are stocking our chocolates. So it should be an easy solution for you to implement. Thank you so much.
So, like I said, Pavan, it's the education is a whole different science altogether. And by the way, the target audience for you is 140 crore. So he is one of those who has not been covered yet. Okay, so you got a long way to go. Okay. Okay.
So we're glad we met here, right?
Okay, I think we are just out of time. One last question. Okay, so yeah.
Am I audible? Yeah. My name is Chetan Khosla. The question is, as marketing professionals, how important is it for you to understand customer journeys in various modes? You know, we're talking about multi-channel and so on and so forth, but customer journeys. And what are the best-in-class practices or measures that are currently available that you guys are using for measuring and analyzing customer journeys?
Yeah, so maybe I can just take a quick stab at it. From a B2B perspective, there are marketing automation tools, right, that can actually track the customer journey. So when is it that the customer visited your site? What did he see? How long did he spend there? Maybe he downloaded some piece of content, then he disappeared for some time, came after a few weeks again. So there are automation platforms emerging. And in the B2B world, that's the best that we currently have. Sure. But I think in the B2C world, it's a little more complex, I would imagine.
The fundamentals actually remain very much the same. Okay, so for us also, tracking the customer journey is very, very important. The classical ways of tracking that we used to do is in terms of non-users, light users, heavy users, current users, and lapsed users. Today, the journey would be tracked in a very different manner because we have those mechanisms that technology has given us, right? But yes, definitely, it is very, very important for us to understand and profile the customer journey.
And also, I think, great question, right? Because customer journeys are not linear anymore, and I think that's what you're trying to get to. A customer journey can start and end in one place, or can go to multiple points. For instance, Like you want to buy a new car, just say you want to buy a Skoda Super, or, you're in the market. So today your customer journeys, you're going to look at a review, you'll go to the showroom, you look at a press article, you'll ask a friend, right, at a minimum, and you may go to their website. So I think the fact that that's why listening becomes very important, right? Listening journeys of how many points of contact are important, and then content tailored to different journeys are also important. It's just not enough about customer journeys. Same for B2B, right? Like there are at least, our research says at least 5 to 6 points before any decision-making person, lands at a decision point. So yeah, one thing is shelf life is small, decision-making points are multiple, and so listening becomes very important, but more importantly, the messaging to you becomes very, very important. And we have to keep, and there are multiple tools today, and you have to pick what's the best tool, what's the best way to automate. More is not the best. It's less is efficient. How well you can connect tools is also important. So when you're looking at automation, look at understanding the audience and look at which tools are well connected when you make your decisions.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to know. Yeah, I mean, personally for you guys, what are the tools that you are using? I mean, what do you believe in?
We use a ton of tools actually. At any given point, we're looking at 20, 25 tools depending on the area of expertise, right? Like, so if I'm looking at social, I'm looking at TalkWalker, that's a listening tool, to Sprinkler, to Tagger. Like, so it really depends. We can do a session some point, but every journey and every channel will have its own tools. Like he was talking about website, right? If you come to the web page, it'll have a different set of tools from landing to tagging to understanding. So it really depends on the journey. And so the tools are different for every journey, but most marketers will have to be very savvy with those tools and use different tools for different customer journeys.
So I'm getting a signal that we have to wrap up. Do we have time for one more question?
I'll keep it short.
Yeah.
Yeah. A quick question here. So just wanted to understand with the dynamics that we have in the current markets or industries that we work on. So what do you think forces the company, or how often or frequently are you guys forced to change your marketing strategies which you would have planned a little earlier, especially over the last couple of years, the way the industry has changed? So how often are you prompted to change the marketing strategies from time to time, and how does that impact your business?
So maybe I'll just quickly answer that see, as I said, when I summarized, we are in a journey, right? There's no absolute truth here. We see that certain things, like I gave the example of our rebranding, right? We felt that there's a disconnect between what we are and how the market perceives us. We rebrand, so at that point of time, we do something, right? Similarly, it's a call you need to take at that point of time when you see some disconnect somewhere, right? And it's a constantly evolving journey. New technology, new social listening tools, and so on. That's all part of the whole thing. It's all sort of governed by, there's a pull factor. When the business requires something, and we need to think out of the box and come out with a solution, right? So marketing is also now an equal stakeholder in terms of creating brand, creating demand, creating revenue, creating pipeline. So we have to keep thinking in terms of what will work, how will we enable business, and then tweak the strategies accordingly. So it's an ongoing process.
Can I just add to that? So of course one needs to be agile and constantly evolve with the changing environment to be able to respond effectively to it. At the same time, I feel the certain fundamentals need to be consistently stable over a long period of time. So just because something has changed in the environment, one does not have to change the core of the marketing approach. In our case, if you see Amul, there are certain core pillars of our entire brand identity that have remained consistent for more than 60, 70 years. So it really
perfectly well for you.
Correct, and then it pays dividends in the long term.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for staying awake.
Thank you everyone for that fantastic panel. I'll request our moderator to please hand over these gifts to the panelists, please. I'm sure after this, Mr. Pavan is sending dark chocolates to everyone. Especially that gentleman who's a big fan of it. One box of chocolates for sure is coming your way. Let's hear that for them, please. Thank you.
Have enjoyed and very good insights from NASTech day 1. We are handing it over the baton to Hyderabad. They will pick it up from here and you will see more tech in action on day 2 in Hyderabad. And from Bangalore, you can join virtually. Thank you very much for joining us in person. We will see you virtually tomorrow. Thank you.
Thanking you on behalf of NASCOM for being here. Thank you.